having them work with someone who they normally wouldn't work with. Also tested their collaboration skills. And initially, some of the pairs did work that well, but by the end of the process, their collaboration skills had improved.
I thought it was quite amazing that they were able to work so independently. They were given the topic at the beginning, and then they just went. There were no students that needed to come up and ask for help in terms of the process of making their film. They just had an idea and they ran with it very independently.
Working with a partner, they had to figure out ways to work together, and it's evident when it wasn't working in their film.
At the start of each session, we showed the rubric, so I think they had a clear understanding of what they were being assessed on and what they needed to achieve at the end of the term. So I think
Focusing on
and revisiting the rubric
expected.
helped.
Yep.
A lot. It helped a lot, and you can tell by the way that they assessed themselves that they learned from what they were doing. Like I read a fair bit of feedback where they did something at the start that not well, like they weren't collaborating well, but towards the end they collaborated better, and you can see them assess themselves on the rubric. So I think going to the rubric and highlighting what we're expecting of them helped them see where they needed to improve. It was kind of clear, especially being numbered. You know, if you're only at a 1 but you want to try and get to a 4, what's the difference?
And they knew that they were going to share their films with both classes, so
And in
I
fact,
think
when
drove
we
them. They
started
wanted to
sharing,
impress everyone.
when we started sharing them, people were clamouring to improve their films.
I think it worked really well because it was specific feedback, and we broke it down into into sections. So rather than it being vague and general, we could comment specifically on their creativity or their communication.
Camera shots.
And initially it was the teachers giving feedback, but I think after the kids heard us give feedback, then they started giving feedback, and they were using all the terms and the language as well.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that.
Yeah.
There's a huge amount of good feedback like that.
When they were asked to give verbal feedback, there was quality feedback, and there were a lot of films to share, so it was hard for them to sometimes sit through and actually be engaged during the viewing, but even though that was hard, there was a lot of good feedback happening.
Yeah, even sort of in amongst groups and whatnot.
And them hearing our feedback as a group, like when we're viewing the films as a group and we're all giving feedback. I think that was actually kind of powerful.
And it was an ongoing process. So, you know, doing the movie pitch and giving feedback then, and that instant feedback, but then that feedback, those opportunities for feedback throughout the whole process of the movie making, I think, allowed the children to know what they needed to do to get better. So I think that ongoing feedback is really important. It was very significant because they understood exactly what they needed to get out of the project. I think if they hadn't have been involved in creating the rubric, then they wouldn't have been as clear on on the expectation and what the purpose of the project was.
Getting them to reword it.
Yeah, they really...
They understood it. It was put on Google Docs and they shared it with their parents.
Yeah.
They were able to explain it. They understood.
And now, hopefully, they're going to share their assessed rubric. The rubric with you.
Creating the rubric was the key to them understanding exactly what they needed to do, and that's why they were so on task, and they really had a good understanding of where they were going with it, and that's part of the self-regulation and the independence was understanding the rubric, the different aspects, and what they needed to achieve. So